Michelle. I'm a sophomore and I'm currently a communications major.
Hello, my name is Julia. I am currently a junior at Pace University.
Okay, Michelle, so how many semesters have you eaten at the CAF?
I've eaten here 3 times.
And what's one word you would use to describe the food options here?
I would say it's kind of limited. Food tastes average. Like, I know that my roommates are vegan, so they don't get that many options here too, but yeah.
Okay.
Are you currently satisfied with the vegan options the CAF has to offer?
I personally am not. I feel like the Pace cafeteria does not offer that many fresh produce, and if it is fresh, it's just very expensive as the Pace University has increased their prices throughout the years as I've been here. And also, some of the vegan options are just filled with a bunch of preservatives, and I do not feel that I'm getting a nutritious value for what I'm paying for.
Has the CAF changed its produce and food options since COVID?
I think it's been a lack of, so they have changed it just by not offering as many options for us. There is a few options that are just high in price, and the value of the product isn't substantial with the price increase. And I think there's just a lack of fresh produce, as I said before. It's just small little cups where some of them are rotten or just not filling either. So I say they have a bunch of produce that is rotten, as well as the other vegan options are just filled with preservatives and things that I do not want to eat.
So how was your experience with the CAF before COVID, during COVID, and afterwards?
So before COVID, I feel like they had a lot more options. They had that vegan bar where it provided a bunch of fresh produce as well as protein-filled produce, and I really loved that option for us. And then during COVID, I received meals to my dorm, and oftentimes I did not fulfill my dietary needs and were not vegan, and also just weren't the most healthy options. It was still filled with a lot of preservatives, and I was not able to meet my calorie intake or my protein intake that I needed for my daily needs. And then after COVID going back to the school, I feel like with the removal of the vegan bar, some of my options are just limited, and I'm forced to eat these like just not healthy food options that don't meet any of my dietary needs, as well as with the inflation of the pricing, it's just not good.
So what is your name, what year are you in, and how many semesters have been eating at the CAF?
My name is Ashley. I am a freshman, and it's my second semester here, so I've been eating there for 2 semesters.
Amazing. And what are your general feelings about the food?
It's okay. I mean, for me, since I do have celiac disease, there definitely aren't a lot of options. Maybe for other people, I'm sure that it's somewhat okay, but I think they could definitely be a little more accommodating for some people.
So what are your experiences? Can you talk to me about them a little bit?
Mm-hmm. I think for the most part, honestly, I haven't had that awful of experiences. I think what the CAF tends to forget for people like me who have celiac, it's not just like an intolerance to gluten, it's more of, it's very intense, right? So cross-contamination can cause me to have a reaction and things like that. So even the signs that say avoiding gluten can be, I almost don't trust them. Maybe that's just me, but I have eaten some things before and had a reaction, even if it was avoiding gluten. And I understand that cross-contamination, like controlling that in such a busy environment is hard. But also, you know, I can't really control it either. So I wish there was a little more options. I usually go for like the sushi. I usually get like cucumber avocado rolls, but as much as I love those, I can only have them so much. Whereas everything else, even at the hot bar, like sometimes one thing is gluten-free, but then there's pasta right next to it and people are scooping and there's pasta falling into like the things I could have eaten and now I can't eat it. So I think that's where I think I would like to see improvement.
Would you say that the CAF do you think the CAF can guarantee gluten-free options?
No, I know that it does get a little tricky when it comes to like guaranteeing certain things. However, I do think they could make it a lot more safe and make me feel a little more comfortable. For things just like maybe changing their gloves or, you know, I don't want to complain too much because most schools don't even have, the avoiding gluten thing, but it is something that is like, I still have so many dining points, and now I have so much money left over that I kind of can't get back because I'm almost scared to eat there. So I think that part is also a little unfair. I know when it comes to like guaranteeing it, they can't be like, oh yeah, it's 100% gluten-free just in case something does happen, but I think they can be more safe with it again in a separate environment cooking, or just wiping everything down before they make the gluten-free things would be very helpful.
So Pace University mandates that every student have a meal plan.
Mm-hmm.
And if you live on campus, there is a certain minimum amount of money you need to have.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you haven't been able to eat at the CAF as much, so you have accumulated a lot of money, which does run out at the end of the year.
Yes.
How do you feel about that, and what are some options?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big problem for me. I'm a college student, as everyone else is, so obviously money's tight. So having all that money kind of left over for things that I can't use it for is really frustrating. Especially in past years at Pace, I know that the money used to roll over throughout the years, and they don't do that anymore. So yeah, it's definitely frustrating. I have a lot of dining points left over, so I'm trying to, for my friends who don't have, I'm like, yeah, take my card, or like, I'll get it for you. But even by doing that, I still have so many points, and I would rather just go buy my own groceries, so I know I can eat. Having a reaction is very intense and would make me very ill, and then obviously that's going to interfere with my academics, and that's never good. So I think I wish I could either get that money back or have it go towards something else, or next year even. Yeah, I think that's probably my main problem with it.
Thank you so much.
We wanted to know if the anecdote our interviewees shared were in alignment with Pace student body in general. We wanted to cast the net wide, catch as many students as possible.
We used passive and active methods to encourage students to participate in our survey.
Here's what we found.
Our survey was pretty straightforward. In order to streamline response rates and to incentivize responses, we decided to use a limited response format. First, we decided to ask students demographic questions, what grade they were in, and whether or not they lived on campus. Next, we asked about 7 questions and had them rate them on a scale of 1 to 4, 1 being the least satisfied, 4 being the most satisfied.
We posted over 100 flyers in One Pace Plaza over the course of 2 days. While we hung our flyers, we asked groups of students lounging in common areas and waiting for elevators to complete our survey. Most students were excited to help us with this project by sharing their opinions on the CAF. Due to time constraints, we were only able to keep the survey open for 10 days. In that time, we received nearly 150 responses.
Here's a breakdown of our respondent. The majority were first year, about 46%. An even larger majority, 64%, live on campus at the time of this survey. 72% of respondents were not satisfied with food options, and 73.4% felt that there were not enough nutritious options available in the CAF.
The numbers remained fairly consistent. Nearly 72% of students felt that the cafeteria did not provide sufficient options to support their physical and mental well-being. 68% of students were not satisfied with the flex dollar options provided by Pace University. Only 35% of students could regularly afford nutritious options provided by the cafeteria.
A food desert is an area that has limited access to affordable and nutritious foods, in contrast to an area that has higher access to supermarkets and vegetable shops with fresh foods, which would be called a food oasis.
So why does it seem so unlikely that a private university campus would be a food desert? Well, for a university where students are paying upwards $70,000 per year, where a meal plan is mandatory, especially in an expensive city such as New York, and where there is access to many small markets and restaurants nearby, it is very unlikely that Pace University would be a food desert. After all, food is everywhere, especially in this city, yet this is one of the many misconceptions of food deserts. It's really not about whether there is access to food nearby. It's more importantly about that food that we or you have access to is nutrient filled and affordable.
The reality at Pace University is different from the appearance. Food is incredibly expensive at the CAF. Flex dollars are the way that Pace University students can use their CAF money at local restaurants off campus. The options for Flex dollars are limited to a shrinking list of fast food options, and Flex isn't available for use at any of the expensive markets around us. Dorms often have locked or dirty common kitchens and have no space for anything but a coffee machine in the room. Students aren't allowed to have larger machinery such as hot pot in their rooms. Yep.
Based on our research and conversations with students, it is our opinion that Pace University, New York City campus, should be considered a food desert.
There are plenty of solutions, fixes, and overhauls we might suggest, including working with local food markets to allow the use of flex dollars on groceries rather than fast food, and lowering the price of food in the CAF. Student-led movements, such as fair trade, have already taken strides to reverse the effects of rising food prices in the CAF.
But our primary concern is acknowledging the reality that the 3,000 students at the New York City campus every year are living in or commuting to a food desert. They're overwhelmingly dissatisfied.